My name is Ava Kensington, 29 years old, living in Atlanta. And on Christmas Eve last year, exactly Christmas Eve 2024, my entire family finally realized I wasn't the family failure they'd been whispering about behind my back for years. That evening's dinner took place at my older sister Madison's new townhouse in a fast-rising compound near Lake Lanier north of Atlanta. The three-story modern house had red brick facade, large windows, and Pinterest-perfect interior decor that Madison constantly showed off on Instagram. Warm string lights, a giant Christmas tree glittering with matching gold and white ornaments, the faint scent of cinnamon and vanilla drifting from expensive candles. Everything looked flawless, like a scene from a high-end real estate ad. The family gathering was quite large. Dad Richard, Mom Victoria, Aunt Evelyn with her husband, and Lily, my cousin whom I consider a real sister. Everyone dressed nicely, laughed and talked cheerfully, clinking champagne glasses non-stop. I sat at the corner of the table in a simple black dress, hair tied low, not as elaborate as Madison in her tight-fitting red dress that flattered her figure. The turkey was still steaming, mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce passed around the table. Then that moment arrived. My mom, Victoria, stood up, her champagne glass sparkling under the lights. She smiled radiantly at Madison first, then turned to the whole table. "Tonight I want to raise a toast," she said, her voice warm and full of the familiar pride. "Madison just bought this beautiful house, all on her own, at such a young age. This is proof of stability, of a solid future. I'm truly, truly proud of her." The table erupted in applause, people shouting, "Cheers!" Madison bowed her head modestly, but I caught the triumphant smirk flashing across her lips. Then Mom turned to me. The smile stayed on her face, but her eyes shifted, the usual mix of pity and gentle reproach. "And little Ava," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear clearly, "when are you finally going to settle down? Your sister has a proper home like this now, and you, still renting an apartment forever? You're 29 already, not young anymore." Madison didn't miss her chance. She tilted her head, smirked, her voice sweet as honey. "Yeah, little sis, renting forever gets boring, right? You're grown up now. Time to think about building a real home. You're not planning to live alone forever, are you?" Soft chuckles rippled around the table. Someone cleared their throat awkwardly. Lily across from me watched, eyes wide, waiting. I gently set down my knife and fork, slowly wiped my mouth with a napkin, then looked straight at Mom. I smiled. Not the polite, submissive smile they were used to, but a calm, confident smile, the kind you give when you're holding a secret no one in that room deserved to know sooner. "I've already settled down a long time ago, Mom," I said, my voice steady and clear. "I just didn't invite the people who always doubt me." The entire table went dead silent. Mom's champagne glass froze midair. Madison's eyebrows shot up, her smile frozen. Dad stopped chewing. Lily across from me slightly opened her mouth, then quickly hid it by sipping water. The soft Christmas music from the speakers suddenly became crystal clear in the heavy silence. Mom was the first to break it. She gave an awkward laugh, the kind people use when they think you're joking. "Ava, what are you saying? Settle down how? You're still renting that tiny apartment in Midtown, right?" I kept that smile. "No, Mom, I don't rent anymore. I bought a house several months ago, a real lake house, right near Lake Lanier. 3 bedrooms, private home office, direct water view. Paid in full with cash, no mortgage, no debt." Silence stretched a few more seconds, then Madison let out a short, unnatural laugh. "Come on, Ava, stop joking. A house on Lake Lanier paid in cash. Where would you even get that kind of money?" Lily spoke up, her voice soft but firm. "She's not joking. I've been there. The house is gorgeous." Every eye turned to me. Mom set her glass down, her face gradually turning red. I could see the shock in her eyes, not joy, but disbelief, and perhaps a touch of fear. that the story this family had told about me for years was about to be turned upside down. If you're thinking my words came out of nowhere just to one-up her, you're wrong. They weren't impulsive. They were built over nearly 3 decades of being overlooked, compared, forced to be the backdrop from my sister's spotlight. From lavish parties for Madison and casual praise for me. From canceled trips, missed performances, denied opportunities. From every time I tried to prove myself, only for the conversation to shift to, but your sister. That Christmas Eve wasn't the beginning. It was the end of a long chain of silence and the start of a new chapter, the one where I get to be the main character in my own life. Stay with me. I'll tell you the journey of a girl who was once the invisible daughter, how she quietly built a solid life no one thought possible, and finally chose to smile instead of explaining further. The real story began long before that Christmas Eve, in a quiet Atlanta suburb where red brick houses lined up neatly, lawns perfectly green, and every family tried to maintain a perfect facade. We were a typical Southern middle-class family. Dad, Richard, worked as a construction engineer for a large company, often away because job sites stretched from Georgia to Florida. He left early, came home late, flew out on weekends for inspections. Mom, Victoria, after staying home for a few years, started part-time work at the local elementary school, a job she often said was to stay connected to the community. From very early on, my mom decided who would be the center of this family, and it was never me. Madison, my older sister, 4 years my senior. She was the kind of girl people automatically turned to look at when she entered a room. Golden blonde hair, radiant smile, explosive energy. She was a cheerleader from middle school, later captain of the high school squad, then prom queen senior year. If there was a stage, Madison knew how to step onto it without invitation. She was always the focal point of parties, conversations, every family photo. I, Ava, was the complete opposite. Quiet, loved reading books, writing, sitting in a corner with a notebook and pencil. I didn't hate attention, I just didn't know how to attract it like Madison. And gradually, I stopped trying. I still clearly remember when I was 10, the same year Madison was 14. She placed second in a regional cheerleading competition. Mom threw a huge barbecue party in the backyard, invited all the relatives, Madison's friends, even hired a professional photographer. The yard was decorated with pink and silver balloons, long tables full of food, grilled ribs, coleslaw, cornbread, and a giant cake shaped like cheer pom-poms. Mom stood in the crowd with a small microphone, constantly talking about her athletic genius older daughter. Everyone clapped, took photos, hugged and kissed Madison as if she just won an Olympic medal. That same year, I won first place in a statewide short story contest organized by the Georgia Literary Association. It was the first time I submitted, and I'd been anxiously waiting for results for a whole month. When the acceptance letter arrived, I ran straight to the kitchen to show Mom. She was washing dishes, glanced at the certificate, smiled lightly and said, "Good job, honey. Mom's proud." I stood waiting, hoping she'd say more, maybe a hug, or at least call Dad in to see. But no. She picked up her phone, flipped through photos, and exclaimed, "But look at this picture of Madison from the cheer competition. She lit up the entire stadium." That was it. No party, no cake, no balloons. Just good job, then immediately back to Madison. I took the certificate to my room, sat on the bed, feeling like my achievement had just been blown away by the wind. Similar things never stopped. When I was 11, the whole family had planned a summer beach trip to Myrtle Beach. I'd been counting down the days on the wall calendar. But 2 days before, Mom walked into my room with a regretful face. "I'm sorry, honey, we have to cancel." "Madison needs a prom dress, and the store's having a big sale this weekend. If we don't go now, the best styles will be gone." I asked, "Can we go next week instead?" She shook her head immediately. "No, your sister needs to prepare early for accessories. Her things are more important right now." I sat looking at my packed suitcase, tears quietly falling, but I didn't argue. I'd learned arguing changed nothing. Another time, I was 13, practicing piano for 6 months for the year-end recital. I chose Moonlight Sonata, practicing until my fingers ached. On performance day, I wore a white dress, stood backstage scanning the audience, heart pounding, searching for Mom's face. Her seat was empty. After the recital, I asked Dad. He sighed. Your mom took Madison to audition for the school musical. She has a chance at the lead role, so Mom thought she needed her more. I nodded, swallowed my tears, told myself I probably wasn't as important. After every family gathering, when everyone left and the house fell quiet again, Lily, my cousin, Aunt Evelyn's daughter, always found me. Lily was 1 year younger, but from childhood more sensitive than anyone in the house. She'd sit beside me on the porch or on my bedroom floor and whisper, "Ava, Grandma has no idea how amazing you are. I read your story. It's so good." Or, "I thought you played piano the best in the whole recital today. Your mom missed the most wonderful thing." Those words were small, but they were the only thing keeping me from sinking completely into feeling invisible. Lily was the only one who truly saw me from when we were little. Mom wasn't malicious. She was simply swept up in Madison's glow, the firstborn, beautiful, stand out, easy to impress others. And I, the second child, quiet, achievements on paper rather than stage, gradually became the background in the home I grew up in. She often said, "You should be proud of your sister. You two shine together." But I knew she only wanted one person shining, and the other just needed to stand there clapping. I grew up feeling I wasn't the child the family bet on. I was the one they expected to always be fine, always understanding, always yielding, and always silent. But silence doesn't mean no pain, and pain accumulated over time turns into something very powerful. As I entered my teens, the favoritism no longer stopped at praise or parties. It began touching the most real thing, money and opportunity. Madison graduated high school at 18. Mom immediately sat down at the kitchen table with her, spreading out a stack of brochures from community colleges around Atlanta. "I want you close to home," Mom said, voice gentle and caring. "Community college is a smart choice, saves money, and keeps you near family." In reality, Mom wanted to keep Madison as close as possible for as long as possible. Tuition, books, gas, meals, even weekend spending money, all covered by Mom without complaint. Madison enrolled in general studies, but spent more time at frat parties, weekend beach trips with friends, and aesthetic photo shoots by Lake Lanier than in class. Mom called it building networks. Whenever Madison brought home a C or D grade, Mom still smiled. "It's okay, honey. The important thing is you're experiencing college life." She changed boyfriends like outfits, friend groups like hairstyles, and Mom still transferred money into her account every month. When it was my turn, everything was completely different. I was 18, just accepted to the University of Georgia in Athens, the state's most prestigious public school, with the communication and digital marketing program I dreamed of for years. I loved how the major combined creativity and data analysis, loved the idea of working on real ad campaigns, social media, and brands. I brought the acceptance letter home, excitedly placing it on the dinner table. Mom glanced at it, raised an eyebrow. "University of Georgia? That's expensive, honey. Out-of-state tuition aside, even in-state is costly. I think you should choose something closer to home, more practical." I explained I qualified for in-state tuition since the family had lived in Georgia long enough. Mom still shook her head. "But books, dorm, food, all money. I'm not sure we can afford it." Dad Richard, reading news on his iPad, only muttered without looking up, "Apply for scholarships yourself. I did everything on my own back in the day." No one sat down with me to review financial aid packages. No brochures, no plan, no promise of help even partially, just figure it out yourself, hanging in the air. So I did everything myself. I stayed up late filling out countless scholarship applications, from university funds, local funds, to organizations for women in communications. I got a part-time job at the Starbucks near home, learned to make lattes and cappuccinos, faced grumpy morning customers. I worked 5 a.m. shifts to make class on time, then rushed back to the dorm to do homework during breaks. In the end, I still had to take out student loans, totaling $35,000 by graduation. I graduated on time with a 3.8 GPA, an internship at a small agency in Athens, and a full-time job waiting in Atlanta. Graduation day, I wore the red and black gown, stood in the blazing May sun at Sanford Stadium, feeling every drop of sweat mixed with pride. My friends took photos with parents, siblings, holding big bouquets, beaming. I checked my phone. One short text from Mom. "Congrats, honey. Madison's swamped at work. Call her and tell her all about the ceremony." No flowers, no attendance, no celebration dinner. Just a short text and a suggestion I share my joy with my sister. At the same time, Madison had dropped out of community college in her second year. She announced she wanted to pursue an influencer career, lifestyle photos, beauty reviews, short sponsored trips. Instead of worry, Mom was thrilled. She bought Madison an expensive mirrorless camera, separate lenses, ring light, even funded clothes to be sponsor-ready. Every time Madison posted a brand collab, even just free products, Mom bragged everywhere. She's building her personal brand, so modern. And when Madison officially declared full-time influencer career start, Mom threw a big party at a fancy Italian restaurant in Buckhead. She invited relatives, Madison's old high school friends, reserved a private table, ordered good wine, and gave a speech. I'm so proud of Madison for daring to follow her passion, daring to be different. This is the beginning of an amazing journey. Everyone clapped, took photos, posted stories congratulating her. Lily and I sat at the corner table, clinking soda glasses, exchanging a wordless look. And I, after graduating with honors, $35,000 in debt, and a real job, no party, no wine, no speech, just a text. Congrats, tell your sister about it. That moment marked something very clear in me. If I waited for my family to recognize and celebrate my achievements, I'd wait forever. And from then on, I began learning to celebrate myself, even if only with a self-treat coffee after a shift, or a solo walk along the Chattahoochee River when I got my first paycheck. I learned not to expect recognition from people who had long decided my success wasn't worth a party. But I didn't yet know that very endurance in silence would give me a strength no one in the family expected. A strength to one day smile and say, I've already settled down. After graduation, I moved to Atlanta immediately. I rented a tiny studio in Midtown, thin walls, creaky windows whenever wind blew, kitchen barely big enough for one person. But it was mine, the first space where no one scrutinized or compared me. I got a job at a small digital agency, starting as junior content strategist with modest pay. The work required everything: writing captions, scheduling posts, analyzing metrics, even simple video editing on weekends. I lived frugally to an extreme, bought discounted groceries at Kroger, cooked from free Pinterest recipes, rarely ate out. Every month, I divided my paycheck into fixed parts: student loan repayment first, then emergency savings, then personal spending. I enrolled in 401k from day one, choosing low-fee index funds I'd researched since college. I learned to read fund reports, track markets via free apps, and auto-transfer part of each paycheck to investments. Colleagues called me old before my time, but I just smiled. I knew I didn't have the safety net Madison did. Mom still called regularly, usually Wednesday evenings when she was free after part-time work. But the calls were almost always the same, all about Madison. Your sister just collabed with a big beauty brand. She sent me the story. Gorgeous. Or, Madison's negotiating a new contract, probably buying her own house soon. So smart. I tried slipping in a few sentences about my work, a high ROI campaign, or a small promotion, but Mom usually interrupted. That's good, honey, but listen to what your sister said. Gradually, I stopped sharing. When Mom asked, how's work lately? I answered briefly, still good, Mom. I didn't want to hear, but your sister, anymore. I kept everything to myself. Late nights refining campaigns, successful Zoom meetings, pay raises.
I treated myself with a weekend walk along the Beltline or a special coffee at a local shop. I learned joy doesn't need someone else's recognition to be real. Then the real turning point came at Thanksgiving 3 years ago, 2022. I drove home to the suburbs for family dinner. I just finished my biggest project yet, a rebranding campaign for a local tech startup. We exceeded KPIs by 150%. The client extended long-term, and I got my largest bonus ever, enough to pay off half my remaining student loans. I excitedly shared with everyone around the table. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, cozy, familiar atmosphere. "Work's going really well," I began, unable to hide my pride. This last project was a huge success. Client loved it, boss even said early senior promotion. Lily smiled encouragingly across the table. I waited for Mom's reaction.
She nodded, but her eyes were already distant. Then she turned to Madison. "Great to hear. But everyone, did you know Madison just bought a new car? A nice SUV, safe, spacious, perfect for long drives. Mom and she picked pearl white, stunning." Conversation immediately shifted. Everyone asked Madison about the car, features, the deal Mom found at the dealership. I sat there, my story cut off like an ad skipped. Lily glanced at me, eyes apologetic. After dinner, Mom insisted on riding back to Atlanta with me. On I-85, the car ran smoothly, radio playing early Christmas music. Mom suddenly said, gentle but pointed, "Ava, you should think about finding a boyfriend. Don't focus too much on career. Men like women who balance, who can care for family. Your sister Madison is independent yet feminine. That's why so many guys chase her."
"If you keep going like this, you're not getting younger. It'll be hard." I gripped the wheel tighter, watching oncoming headlights blur past. In that moment, something inside me broke. Not loudly, but quietly, certainly. I realized no matter what I achieved, Mom would always find a way to pull me back to my old place. The child needing fixing, the child not enough, the child who had to change to be worthy. A few weeks later, I started therapy. I found a therapist specializing in family dynamics via BetterHelp. My first session, I just cried. I talked about the favoritism, the feeling of invisibility, the pain when my success was always overshadowed.
The therapist introduced the concept golden child scapegoat dynamic. Madison, the golden child, idealized, protected, unconditionally invested in. Me, the scapegoat, subtly blamed, expected absolute independence, my success seen as threat rather than pride. Understanding the name for the pain didn't erase it, but helped me stop blaming myself. I learned to set boundaries, learned to stop seeking validation from people who decided not to give it. I kept working hard, saving, investing, but now for myself, not to prove anything to anyone. And that quiet change led me to the fateful Christmas Eve, where I no longer needed to explain, only to smile. In the years that followed, Madison's life was packaged in glossy Instagram photos. She built her personal brand quickly. Lakeside shots, outfit of the day, beauty flat lays, inspirational captions like, "Manifesting my dream life."
Followers grew steadily. Small sponsorships became regular. Then one spring morning last year, Madison posted a series of stories and a main post. She just signed to buy a house. A 3-bedroom townhouse in a rising area near Lake Lanier, modern facade, granite island kitchen, back patio overlooking greenery. She posed in front of the sold sign holding keys, caption, "From dreaming to owning. So grateful for this new chapter. Hard work pays off. #homeowner, #blessed." The post got thousands of likes, comments flooding with congratulations. Mom forwarded it to the family group chat instantly, adding, "So proud, my older daughter is officially a homeowner." Just 1 week later, Mom organized a pool party to celebrate the new house at the parents' home, since Madison's was still being renovated.
The backyard was decorated with giant house and key-shaped balloons. Long tables full of grilled food, burgers, hot dogs, fruit salad, pastel frosted cupcakes. Mom invited all relatives, Madison's old high school friends, even a few local followers she'd met at events. Everyone raised mint lemonade glasses, group photos in front of the "Congrats Homeowner Madison" backdrop. Mom stood in the crowd, arm around Madison, constantly saying, "She's so independent, worked so hard, now has her own home. This is real success." I attended, bringing a bottle of white wine as gift. An aunt asked if I was still in the tiny midtown apartment. I nodded, smiling. "Yes, ma'am." She patted my shoulder, pitying tone. "Well, take your time, dear. No rush to buy. Mortgage is heavy, big responsibility." I just sipped my watered-down soda, didn't reply. Late afternoon, when most people were by the pool taking photos with Madison, I went inside for more ice. Voices from the dining room drifted over, low but urgent. I paused, instinctively stepping behind the door. Madison sat at the table, thick stack of bank and mortgage papers in front of her. Mom sat opposite, glasses on, brow furrowed. "I don't understand why my credit score is so low," Madison whispered, voice trembling. "I tried paying cards on time." Mom sighed, rubbing her temples. "You maxed out 3 credit cards, plus the car loan. Now the bank wants 20% down. You're short almost $15,000 for closing costs. I don't know where to get it." Madison slid a paper across. "Can you pull from your 401k or borrow from retirement temporarily? I promise, just this once. Once my influencer work stabilizes, bigger contracts come, I'll pay back immediately." Mom hesitated long, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll see how much I can move without heavy penalties. I might have to co-sign to help credit a bit. But remember, this is the last time." I stood frozen outside the door, heart pounding so hard I had to lean against the wall. The image flashed clear. When I was 22, fresh out of college, looking for my first Atlanta apartment, I called Mom excited. "Mom, I need $500 deposit for a studio. I'm short a little. Can you help?" Mom answered immediately, firm. "No, honey. You're grown. You need to be independent. I can't keep giving money. This is a lesson in financial management." I'd worked 3 extra weekend shifts at Starbucks, eaten instant noodles for a month to scrape together the deposit. And now, Mom was willing to tap retirement funds, the thing she always said was never touch, to cover Madison's shortfall. I backed away before being seen, heart still racing. I went back to the pool, sat alone in a corner, watching everyone laugh and photograph Madison in front of the congratulatory backdrop. At that moment, I wasn't angry. I just saw with painful clarity. Favoritism wasn't just words, parties, attention. It was money, real sacrifice Mom gave Madison, and refusal for me. That night, driving back to Atlanta alone, I opened banking and investment apps on my phone. The balance had grown steadily over years of saving, bonuses, investments, all from my own effort, not 1 cent from family. I suddenly thought, while Mom poured money into maintaining Madison's perfect image, I had quietly built a truly solid foundation. And the idea of buying my own home, not to show off, not to prove anything, but to have a place truly mine, became clearer than ever. I didn't know then that just months later, that very house would become the weapon that left my entire family speechless on Christmas Eve. But I knew one thing for certain. I would never ask Mom for money to buy it. After that pool party, I returned to my tiny midtown studio with a strange feeling. Not anger, but cold clarity. I opened my laptop, logged into every bank, investment, 401k account. I listed every figure slowly, like inventorying a treasure I'd buried myself over the years. The result made me sit silent for a long time. After nearly 7 years of nonstop work, from junior to senior content strategist, then fully remote for a large Atlanta-based tech company, my salary had tripled from starting. Annual bonuses, RSU stock, side freelance projects had added up significantly. I lived as if still poor. Rare eating out, sale clothes, no luxury travel, no impulse shopping. Every month, I auto-transferred 30% of pay to high-interest savings and index funds. I never touched it, even when the pandemic left many friends jobless. Total,
enough to buy a beautiful house without a single dollar of mortgage. I didn't cheer, didn't text anyone bragging. I just sat there, staring at the screen numbers, and for the first time felt the true power of patient silence. While Mom poured money into Madison's perfect appearance, I had built a foundation no one knew about. A few weeks later, I contacted a realtor I'd connected with on LinkedIn. I was clear: house near Lake Lanier, quiet, private workspace, and I wanted to pay cash. She sent several listings, but only one made my heart skip from the first photo. A small lake house in Gainesville, about an hour from Atlanta. 1.5-story bungalow style, wood and stone, sloping roof, wraparound porch.
3 bedrooms, open kitchen with large island, and most importantly, a corner room looking straight onto the lake, flooded with natural light, perfect home office. Backyard steps from the shore, tiny private wooden dock just big enough for morning coffee watching sunset. No close neighbors, no highway noise, only lapping water and birdsong. The price made me swallow hard at first, slightly above budget because Georgia real estate was hot. But sitting with the company-referred financial advisor, he reviewed my entire portfolio and said, "You've done extremely well. You can pay cash and still keep a healthy emergency buffer. No mortgage, no interest, no stress." I signed the purchase contract just 2 months later. No cosigner, no calling Mom to check, no borrowing from anyone. I transferred money from accounts built over years, watched the balance drop sharply without regret.
On key day, I stood alone in the empty house, opened windows for lake breeze, listened to gentle waves below the dock. No traffic, no neighbors, just my own breathing. For the first time in life, I felt true freedom. Space completely mine. No judgment, no comparison. I didn't post photos, no stories, no check-in. I only texted one person, Lily. "Free this weekend? I need help decorating my new house." Lily replied instantly. "New house? Are you serious? I'm driving up now." That weekend, Lily arrived with a trunk full of plants, tools, and overnight bag. She stepped inside the empty living room, eyes wide, then screamed, "Ava, this is really your house? Paid cash? You're insane, in a genius way. Why did you keep it secret so well?" We laughed until tears came, then got to work. We drove to Home Goods, Target, and local Gainesville furniture stores.
We chose soft gray sofa, reclaimed wood dining table, white linen curtains letting lake light flood in. Lily hung string lights on the back porch, planted succulents or herbs on kitchen windowsills. I set up a large desk facing the lake in the small office, where I could zoom while watching water sparkle. We painted one accent wall soft slate blue, hung lake landscape prints Lily took with her phone. First night staying over, we cooked simple pasta, opened cheap wine, sat on the dock stargazing. Lily sprawled on the wooden chair, whispered, "You know, this is the clearest proof you were never the loser in this story. You just won quietly." I looked at the lake's black surface under moonlight, peace spreading from chest outward. For the first time, I had a place no one could intrude on my story. No one could judge or compare. Every corner bore my mark. Colors I chose, plants I grew, chair I sat reading each night. I didn't want this house as a weapon to brag. I wanted it as sanctuary, silent reward for years carrying myself. I thought I could keep the secret forever, let the family live in their illusion while I lived peacefully by the lake. But life sometimes has its own way of bringing things to light. I never expected that just months later, this house would become the center of a Christmas Eve my family would never forget. And when the moment came, I only needed to smile, because finally, I had a place to return to, whether they believed it or not. Christmas Eve last year arrived faster than I thought. Madison invited the whole family to dinner at her new townhouse, her first time hosting a major holiday. I hesitated for days, even considered excusing myself with remote work to stay at the lake house alone with hot wine and fireplace. But Lily texted, "You have to come. I want to see their faces when they find out." I laughed over the phone, then drove anyway. Madison's house was beautiful, exactly like Instagram, even more dazzling under holiday lights.
Ceiling-high tree, coordinated gold and white ornaments, string lights wrapped around staircase railing, cinnamon, vanilla, and pine scent from expensive candles, dining table with white silk cloth, brand new dishware, giant fresh flower centerpiece. Mom Victoria bustled in the kitchen like the true hostess, wearing a red Merry Christmas apron, constantly calling, "Come to the table, food's almost ready." Everyone gathered. Dad Richard, Aunt Evelyn with husband, Lily, a few distant relatives, and me. Madison opened the door in a tight red sweater dress, perfect makeup, hair in an elegant updo. She hugged me lightly, quick glance head to toe, then smiled. "You're here. Simple dress, but it suits." Classic Madison. I sat at the table, tried blending into the atmosphere. Menu lavish, honey glazed turkey, cinnamon butter sweet potatoes, cranberry pecan salad, homemade cornbread. Plates passed, laughter about weather, work, rising gas prices. I answered briefly when asked, mostly listened. Then the moment came. When everyone was nearly full, Mom Victoria stood, champagne glass in hand, lightly tapped a spoon against it. Room fell silent. She smiled radiantly at Madison first, then addressed the table. "I want to make a little toast tonight," she said, voice warm with familiar pride. "This year is special for our family. My older daughter, Madison, bought this beautiful house, all on her own, so young. This is proof of stability, responsibility, a solid future. I'm truly, truly proud of her." Table applauded, cheers ringing out. Madison bowed modestly, but I saw the victorious lip curve. Mom continued, eyes shifting to me, smile still there, but voice tinged with gentle reproach. "Your sister has a proper home like this now. And you, Ava, when are you finally going to settle down? Still single, still renting forever. 29 already, can't live temporarily like that forever." Madison seized the chance. Head tilt, smirk, voice sweet as sugar. "Yeah, little sis. Renting forever gets old, right? Grown up now, time to think about building a real home. You're not planning to stay single forever, are you?" Soft chuckles from a few. Someone awkward cough. Lily across watched, eyes wide, waiting. I gently set knife and fork down, slowly wiped mouth with napkin, then looked straight at Mom. I smiled, the calm, confident smile I'd practiced in my head hundreds of times. "I've already settled down a long time ago, Mom," I said, voice even and clear. "I bought a house several months ago, a real lake house, in Gainesville right near Lake Lanier. 3 bedrooms, private home office, direct water view. Paid in full with cash, no mortgage." Silence fell like a thick blanket. Mom's champagne glass froze midair. Madison's eyebrows shut up, smile frozen. Dad stopped chewing his last bite of turkey. Lily covered her mouth, eyes sparkling. Mom laughed awkwardly, the kind when someone thinks you're joking. "Ava, don't joke like that. House paid cash? Where would you get that money? You still rent the tiny midtown place, right?" I kept the smile. "No, Mom, I don't rent anymore. I moved out long ago. I just didn't tell." Madison let out a short, high-pitched laugh. "Come on, Ava. Lake Lanier house paid cash? Don't make stuff up. Who'd believe that?" Lily spoke, voice soft but firm. "She's not making it up. I've been there many times. House is gorgeous, incredible lake view. Ava paid cash for real." Every eye on me. Mom set her glass down, face gradually reddening. "Why buy a house and not tell family? This is big news." I looked straight at Mom, voice still calm. Because every time I tried sharing about my life, degree, job, promotions, you changed the subject to Madison, so why would I share about a house? Mom shook head. "Ridiculous. Your sister worked so hard for this place. You could at least be happy for her instead of trying to one-up her at her own dinner." I felt cold anger rise, not explosive, but clear, sharp. I turned to Madison. "I'm happy anyone gets a home, but I'm not happy you pretend you did it all alone while actually Mom pumps money, withdrawing 401k, lending closing costs to maintain that image." Madison paled. "You're lying. I did everything myself." "No," I replied softly. "I overheard you and Mom at the pool party celebrating the new house. Low credit score, maxed credit cards, short $15,000 down payment. Mom promised to pull from retirement, last time. Mom stammered, "That's private, you were eavesdropping?" "Not eavesdropping," I said. "You were just loud." And the funny part is, when I asked Mom for $500 deposit on my first apartment, she said I needed to be independent. Now she's willing to burn retirement to keep your image. Room dead silent. Someone coughed. Madison shouted, "You're ruining my Christmas!" I looked at Mom, then Madison, final voice still calm. "No."
You and Mom ruined countless Christmases, Thanksgivings, my graduation by always reminding me I wasn't enough. I'm just not playing this game anymore. The game that was rigged from the start. I pushed my chair back, legs scraping wood floor lightly. I grabbed my bag. Mom shouted, "Ava, sit down, we're not done." "I think we are," I replied. "You made clear long ago whose side you're on. Now I'm making clear I'm on my own side." Lily stood immediately, almost instinctively. "I'll walk you out." We walked through the room past a dozen stunned faces, out the front door. Door closed behind us, house noise cut off. Night bitterly cold, breath white smoke. Lily and I walked the stone path, high heels clicking softly. In the car, I realized my hands weren't shaking, heart pounding strong, but with release. Lily held my hand over the console. "You did it. You were amazing." I smiled, this time a real smile. Yeah, time to go home. And I drove back to my lake house, where no one could doubt or compare anymore. 3 weeks after that Christmas Eve, the family group chat was unusually silent. No more all-caps messages from Mom bragging about Madison's new interior, no forwarded stories about perfect curtains or dream neighborhood. Instead, long gaps, occasional late Christmas memes from distant relatives pretending nothing happened, awkward check-ins like, "Everyone okay?" No one answered. My phone buzzed constantly the first days. Mom called at least 3 times daily. At first, I didn't pick up, just read voicemails, early messages full of anger. "Ava, you really disappointed me. You ruined Christmas dinner for everyone, embarrassed your sister in front of the whole family."
Why say those private things out loud? Are you trying to prove you're better? I never expected you to be so selfish. Then her voice lowered, mixed with tears. "Come apologize to your sister. We're family. We can't let this divide us." I didn't reply. I kept phone on silent, focused on remote work from the Lakeview home office. I opened windows for late winter breeze, listened to gentle waves, and felt uninterrupted peace for the first time. By week 2, Mom's tone changed completely. No anger, only pleading. "Ava, listen to me. Madison is really struggling. Bank calls nonstop, interest rising. She's stressed and can't sleep. You have money. You bought a house cash. Can you help your sister a little? Just a loan until she stabilizes." Another day. "I know I wasn't fair before. I'm sorry. But now is time for family unity. You're the younger sister. You should help."
"I'm old. I don't want to see you two fighting." I listened to every message, sitting on the porch watching thin ice on the lake. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. Tired of the familiar loop. Madison in trouble from overspending, Mom sacrificing to save the golden child image, and I expected to yield, to help keep peace. I knew if I helped, the story would repeat. Madison would spend again, need one last time, and I'd be called selfish for refusing. I'd escaped that circle once on Christmas Eve. I wasn't going back. After 2 weeks of silence, I called Mom back, one time only. She picked up on the first ring, voice trembling. "Ava, you're calling me?" "Yes, I'm calling to make things clear one final time, Mom." I took a deep breath, voice calm but firm, the voice I'd practiced in countless therapy sessions. "I listened to all your voicemails. I know you're worried about Madison, and I understand you're regretting some things. I appreciate that you finally said sorry, even if late." Mom interrupted. "So you'll help? Just a small part, I promise." "No, Mom," I gently cut in. "I'm not helping financially. I'm not lending, not paying debts, nothing." Silence on the other end.
I continued. I love you. I always love you. But I'm not fixing consequences of choices I didn't make. Madison is grown. She chose spending, borrowing, building an Instagram image. You chose to withdraw retirement to help her. Those are your and her choices, not mine. I have no responsibility to carry them. Mom burst into tears. But we're family. How can you be so heartless? Family doesn't mean I sacrifice myself to maintain someone else's image, Mom. Family means mutual respect. I didn't have that for nearly 30 years.
Now I choose to respect myself. I paused, voice softening. I'm not cutting contact completely. I'm still here if you want to talk as mother and daughter normally. No money involved, no comparing me to Madison. But if every call circles back to me helping her financially, I won't answer. Mom cried harder. You're punishing me for past mistakes? No, Mom, I'm protecting myself from repeating them. I learned in therapy that boundaries aren't punishment, they're self-care. The call ended in Mom's sobs. I hung up, set the phone on the wooden table by the window. Outside, sunset painted the lake warm orange. I felt relief. Not triumphant relief, but the relief of finally dropping a burden I'd carried since childhood. After that, Mom still called a few more times, but less often. I didn't answer if content repeated. I muted the group chat, temporarily blocked some relatives sending advice. I chose low contact, not full no contact, but enough to protect my newfound peace. And in that silence, I began realizing boundaries don't make me a bad person. They just make me someone who finally puts myself first. Spring arrived, and what I predicted began happening step by step. Madison once lived on steady, small influencer contracts, beauty reviews, clothing ads, short sponsored trips. But as the economy slowed, brands cut marketing budgets, prioritizing influencers with larger followers or higher engagement. Her biggest contract, a long-term campaign with a local beauty company, was suddenly canceled midway when the parent company went bankrupt. Smaller brands went quiet one by one. Madison's income dropped sharply in months. She still tried maintaining the facade on Instagram, old photos re-edited, positive captions like focusing on self-growth. But longtime followers noticed posts grew sparse, stories fewer, new photos no longer luxurious. No weekly new outfits, no weekend getaways, no sponsored product flat lays. At the same time, bills came due. Monthly mortgage, the loan signed with Mom's help, became an unbearable weight. Credit cards already maxed, interest piled up. Madison started missing payments. Credit score dropped further. Bank sent warnings, then collection letters. She called Mom more often, voice panicked. I can't cover this month. Can you help a little more? Mom initially tried. She withdrew more from retirement, transferred money for Madison to cover a few months. But this time, money couldn't patch everything. Debt grew, penalties stacked. By summer, Madison had no choice. She listed the townhouse for sale. The house, once the greatest pride, the Christmas dinner venue, the toast subject, was now on Zillow, priced below purchase. Realtor advised quick price drop to sell fast, avoid foreclosure. After months on market, it sold at heavy loss. Madison used proceeds to pay bank, credit cards, and part of money borrowed from Mom. In the end, she was nearly broke, left with a few furniture pieces and lingering small debt. She moved back temporarily with Mom and Dad in the suburbs, the same old house we grew up in. Madison's Instagram gradually went completely silent. Account still there, but no new posts. Old dream home photos now felt like distant, slightly bitter memories. Mom began texting me more often, no longer angry or begging money, but late regret. First was a long message one July evening. Ava, I've thought a lot about that Christmas Eve. I know I was wrong. I wasn't fair to you from childhood to now. I always put Madison first, always thought you were strong so you'd manage. I didn't realize how deeply I hurt you. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. I read it over and over on the lake house porch, cool lake breeze blowing. I didn't reply immediately, but saved it. Later messages came sporadically.
I see Madison struggling so much, not excusing her, but I realize much is my fault. I spoiled her, created conditions so she never learned responsibility. Only now do I see I harmed both my daughters in different ways. Then another day, I miss you. I don't expect forgiveness right away, but I want you to know I'm trying to change. I'm reading books on fair parenting, even if late.
I just want to say I'm proud of you for your independence, for the beautiful house you built with your own strength. I was wrong not to see it sooner. I didn't reply to all, but I didn't block anymore. I let Mom speak, let her face consequences of old choices. I knew late apologies don't erase 30 years of wounds, but at least it signaled the perfect wall Mom built around Madison was starting to crack. Madison didn't contact me directly. Through Lily, I learned she was looking for stable, full-time work. No more influencer dreams. She applied as sales associate at a mall cosmetics store, starting over near zero. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt sad. Sad for a story that didn't need to end this way if favoritism hadn't existed from the start. But I also felt relief. The collapse of that perfect image wasn't caused by me. It was the natural result of unsustainable choices. And while the townhouse, once a pride symbol, now belonged to someone else, I still sit here by Lake Lanier in my own lake house where no one can take it away, no one can doubt its value. The perfect image shattered, but real life, though not glossy, finally revealed its true light. After those chaotic months, I found true peace in the lake house by Lake Lanier. Every morning, I wake to birds calling outside the window and sunlight sparkling on water. I brew coffee, sit on the wooden dock with laptop, work remote to gentle wave sounds. No car horns, no noisy neighbors, no one asking, when will you settle down? Just me, work, and space I built with my own hands. First weekend after everything settled, I invited Lily and Aunt Evelyn's family up. They arrived with trunk full of snacks, wine bottles, and too many jackets fearing cold despite warm Georgia spring. Lily stepped inside, hugged me tight. "Sis, I'm so proud of you. You did what most only dream." Aunt Evelyn toured the house, stood by the Lakeview window, then quietly said, "Ava, I'm sorry. I saw your mom's favoritism long ago, but never spoke up. I was wrong." We cooked together, grilled ribs on the backyard grill, fresh fruit salad, light music from Bluetooth speaker. Aunt Evelyn's husband fished from the dock. Lily and I kayaked to the middle of the lake, laughing like kids. Evening, we sat around a small fire pit, roasting marshmallows, telling old stories. No one mentioned Madison or Mom, just laughter, crackling fire, and feeling surrounded by people who truly see me. Weekends like that became routine. Lily often drove up alone, bringing new plants or decor finds from thrift shops. We gardened together, sunflowers along the path, herbs and cherry tomatoes in self-built wooden pots. I bought a golden retriever puppy named Luna and watched her run on the front lawn, chasing wind-blown bubbles from the lake. Luna sleeps beside me every night, head on my leg, reminding me I'm no longer alone. Work kept advancing. Company promoted me to lead content strategist, higher pay, and small team reporting to me. I managed national campaigns from the Lakeview home office, Zoom calls with water backdrop. Colleagues teased, "Ava has the best team background." I still saved and invested, but now treated myself. A North Georgia mountain hike, a new kayak, or simple weekend spa in town. The biggest surprise was starting to share my story more widely. After Christmas Eve, a few old friends and colleagues messaged asking about the cash-paid lake house. I shared briefly and realized how many related deeply. They too were once invisible children, compared, struggled with toxic family. One evening, I created a private Facebook group, Invisible Daughters Collective, for women who grew up in favorited families, expected to stay silent and yield. The group grew faster than expected, from a few friends to dozens, then hundreds of members across the U.S. We shared stories, golden child versus scapegoat, setting boundaries, financial independence as true freedom. I started weekly live streams from the home office, talking budgeting basics, investing, paying student loans, and most importantly,
How to say no to family without guilt. I mentored young women, guiding 401k setup, choosing index funds, building healthy credit, recognizing manipulative signs from parents. One member messaged, "You saved me from co-signing my brother's mortgage."
I thought I had to because family. Another, "Thanks to you, I refused lending mom money for the first time, and I no longer lose sleep over guilt." I didn't do it for fame or money. I did it because I finally found purpose, turning old pain into strength for others. Watching young women grow confident, set boundaries, build their own lives, I saw my younger self in them and knew I'd broken the cycle. Mom occasionally texted, short, no longer about money. "Walked in the park today, miss you." Or "Saw sunflowers blooming beautifully, like your garden photos." I replied politely, sometimes sent Luna or garden pics. We're not back to old times, but at least no tension. Madison, per Lily, is working steadily at the cosmetics store, living simpler, slowly paying debt. She hasn't contacted me, and I don't expect it. And I live my life fully, without needing proof.
I wake each day in the house I built myself, with loyal Luna, thriving garden, and community of strong women I'm lucky to walk alongside. I'm no longer a supporting character in the old family story. I'm the main character in my own. And for the first time, I feel enough. Not because anyone recognizes it, but because I recognize it myself. If you're reading this and your heart aches because it feels too familiar, please know, you are not alone. If you grew up in a family where the spotlight only shone on one person while you stood forever in the dark clapping, if you heard your sister, brother, hundreds of times until it etched into your subconscious, if you achieved your life's greatest milestone only to receive casual praise before the story quickly returned to the other one, if you were expected to yield, sacrifice, stay silent to keep peace, then I understand you. I was there. I was the invisible child. Ava Kensington always assumed she'll be fine, so no need for attention, investment, celebration. I learned to shrink so no one felt uncomfortable, learned to celebrate silently, learned not to expect recognition from my closest people. And I hurt deeply, but I also learned the most important thing, that pain doesn't define you. It's only catalyst to choose a different path. You have the right to choose yourself. You have the right to say no without long explanations. You have the right to set boundaries, even if the other person calls it selfish, cries, blames. You have the right to protect your energy, finances, mental space. You are not obligated to fix consequences of choices others made, even if it's siblings, even if it's parents. You have the right to build a life without needing recognition from those who once doubted you. I did it. I paid off college debt myself, advanced my career myself, saved, invested, bought a lake house no one knew about. I didn't do it to prove to them. I did it because I deserve a safe place, a solid future, a life I direct. And when I finally spoke up that Christmas Eve, I didn't do it for revenge. I did it to declare I'm no longer playing by rules rigged from the start. Today, I live in that lake house with Luna at my feet, garden I planted myself, and a community of women once invisible like me, now learning together to shine in our own way. I no longer wait for someone to say, "I'm proud of you." I'm proud of myself every day. If you're in the most painful phase, just set a boundary and got called cold, just refused help and labeled selfish, remember that guilt will pass. It's only echo of old upbringing, years taught that loving family means self-sacrifice. But real love doesn't require losing yourself. Real love is mutual respect, recognizing each other's worth without comparison. You deserve to be seen. You deserve celebration, a life not always standing behind someone else's light. And if one day you must walk away, set boundaries, choose yourself, no matter how much your heart hurts. Remember, you're not destroying family. You're only breaking the toxic cycle so the next generation doesn't suffer like you. I only smiled that Christmas Eve, not out of politeness, not to hide pain, but because finally I knew what I deserve. I deserve peace, freedom, a life not needing permission to shine. And so do you. Choose yourself even just once. You'll be surprised the world doesn't collapse. Instead, it starts opening the way it should have long ago. Thank you for staying with me to the last line. I hope my story reminds you, even if once a supporting character in your family, you can absolutely become the main character in your own life. You are not alone, and you are strong enough to begin.